Hi, today we're going to talk about gathering family information in genealogy research. So stay tuned. Gathering information from your living relatives is really important to prioritize before your opportunity is missed. My recommendation would be to start with your oldest living relatives. The reason for this is we don't know how much longer they're going to be here or how much longer their memories are going to stay intact. As we get older, we tend to forget things or maybe mix up dates, and that can cause problems in genealogy research. But a lot of times the information that these relatives gives us is very helpful because they can maybe remember, well, they came from an area of France near Paris. Or maybe I remember our surname in the old country was spelled whatever. These are important clues that can help you, especially when you're trying to jump across the pond and find out more about your place of origin. In addition, your older family relatives may be the only ones who can identify old family photographs. Often these photographs end up in the trash because we have no idea who these people are when they could be a great-great-grandparent or something like that in our lives. So gather that information while you can. Make sure you write down on the back of the photograph in pencil, very lightly, who is in that photograph. That way the information doesn't become separated from the photograph itself, which happens far too often. As we move back in time, photographs become more rare, and we don't want to lose the precious ones that we have. So, as I mentioned before, begin with your oldest relatives. You can visit with them in person, or you can have a Zoom call with them if they have somebody that can set them up on a Zoom call. You can call them on the phone and you can record that. There are a lot of different ways for you to get the information from your family members. And Zoom will allow you to record a Zoom conversation. However, some states have laws regarding this, so it's important to consult the state in which you live in and the person that you're interviewing to make sure that it's okay to do so. Usually, it just requires a consent. Like if I'm recording somebody at the beginning, I say it's okay if we're recording this interview. Here are some hints for good interviews. First, plan out your interview. Figure out your time. When would be a good time to talk to this person? When is their best time of day? Where do you want to meet? I wouldn't recommend a restaurant. It's loud, there's a lot of distractions. Find someplace quiet, particularly if you're going to be recording in any way. Also, figure out how you want to record this. Be sure to bring a paper and pencil regardless, because you'll end up taking some notes and you may want to jot down things that you think of while they're talking that you want to follow up with another question. But again, I recommend, if possible, to either audio or video record your conversation with your ancestor or relative. And then finally, create a list of topics that you would like to have covered. I've attached some links below with sample questions in case you're having trouble coming up with your questions. I would also encourage you to ask questions about aunts and uncles and cousins because it's making multiple points of connection that frequently help us confirm our genealogy research. Second, what do you need to bring? Bring your list of questions, bring whatever it is you're going to record with. Don't forget your paper and pencil. Bring old photographs, particularly ones where you don't know some of the people that are in the pictures. And also a great thing to bring would be a family tree or pedigree chart, so that you can follow along and make sure that you're understanding who it is that they're talking about. And sometimes it's helpful for them to look at that family tree to spark memories. You might also want to bring some family group sheets. All right, 3, some hints for successful interviews. Ask open-ended questions and don't have too much of an agenda. If you are trying to go quickly from one of your questions to the next, your family member may cut off a memory that will become very precious to you. Also, memories tend to kind of build off one another. And as they are remembering something, they frequently will go into another memory. And you don't want to stop and break that process because it can be really super valuable. Use photos to spur memories and write down those little details or encourage them. It's sometimes the little details that really do help you in your research. Things like where they grew up, what kind of house they lived in, what they lived by, other people that lived around them. Sometimes the littlest fact that you get later on in your research as you're reviewing your interview. It's that little nugget that helps you find something that you didn't already know before. I remember my mother said her grandfather worked on the railroad. That can give you a lot of information. Or he had a brother that served in World War I. If they don't know the exact town that somebody lived in, that's fine. Ask them if they know the region or the part of the country or the state. Dates can be difficult, and that is where memory is often foggy. I mean, how well do we remember all the dates in our lives? Things that we ought to know, like the age of our children or our grandchildren. Those things do tend to shift with time. And sometimes somebody has absolutely no idea, like when their grandfather died, but they might be able to associate it with another memory. Let's say somebody can't remember about when their grandfather died. You can say, well, was he at your wedding? Oh, yeah, he was. Was he at your younger brother's wedding? You know, things like that. That can give you a time period where you know that if he was at this event, but then he wasn't at this event, then you know that he passed sometime between those two events. It's a great way to solve that problem. And lastly, your ancestor may not be comfortable with sharing some information. That's okay. Don't push it, because you'll cause some animosity or some uncomfortableness there that will really hurt your interview. If they're not comfortable sharing it, that's fine. That's their decision. All right, our fourth item today is to follow up quickly. Make sure when you get home, you review your audio and videotapes. Make sure you understand what's been told to you. And if you have any questions, immediately go back to that relative to get the information. Create family trees based on the information given you. Not necessarily in your tree. Maybe you want to create a separate tree because maybe it's not all correct, but it gives you a place to start. And finally, make sure you label your notes and make sure you date your recordings so that you have the date that you had this interview. We hope we've given you some great ideas for your interviews. We'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that like button, and don't hesitate to let us know other suggestions that you have for good interviews in our comment section for others to see, as well as let us know some things that you would like to talk about in genealogy research. Have a great day.